All right, welcome back to Pace Immigration, talking once again with lawyer Andy Semichuk. Andy, we were talking about the 5 basic ways that someone can immigrate into Canada, and those 5 basic ways are?
Okay, number 1, you can study your way in. Number 2, I like to say you can marry your way in, which is a shorthand way of saying you can be sponsored by a family member. Number 3, you can work your way in. Number 4, you can buy your way in, which is a shorthand way of saying that you can invest your way in. And number 5, you can claim refugee status.
Okay, now when it comes to working your way in, I know we get questions all the time about how people can get, or someone writes in and says, how can I get a work permit? What are the basic ways that somebody can go about that process?
Okay, for working, there are 2 streams. One stream is temporary, the other is permanent. Let's talk about temporary first. With respect to temporary, the best way would be under the NAFTA Free Trade Agreement if you're a professional. The NAFTA Free Trade Agreement deals with the United States or Mexico. So if you're a professional, such as a nurse or perhaps a doctor or someone in that kind of category, you can get a job work permit by simply having an employer write a letter on your behalf, and we can do the rest in terms of getting you the work permit. We can get it almost instantly at the border when you're coming in. The other category, the permanent categories, of course, takes longer, but there are certain ways that you can get in that way as well.
I didn't know that. So basically, if you have a letter from, let's say, Acme Incorporated or whatever, and they write you a letter saying, we'd like Joe Blow to work for us, and you bring that letter to the border, someone like you can make it happen almost instantaneously?
Yes. If you're in one of the occupations in the NAFTA Free Trade Agreement, yes. And even in some instances from overseas, you can be brought in very quickly as an intercorporate transferee in a large organization. Like, for example, if Microsoft is transferring you from Europe to Canada, that can be done very quickly, or from Canada to the United States very quickly. Those are examples of work permits that can be obtained very, very quickly.
Now, that's for people that might have, like, that all-important job offer from someone, and that gets you fast-tracked into the country and gets you that work permit. What about the people that don't have that and are looking to get in on their skills alone? What recourse do they have?
Okay, well, there are 2 things I would suggest. One thing is, take a look around, maybe on Craigslist, on Monster.com, and other sites like that. See if there's employers that might be interested in talking to you about offering a job to you. And otherwise, if you can't find anyone, you can always look at the skilled worker program. And there is a list of occupations, certain categories, registered nurse, for example, doctor, and others like that. There's 29 of them. And if you look at that list, if you fall in one of those categories, you can self-petition yourself into Canada. You don't need an employer to sponsor you.
And
do it on your own.
people can find that where? The government website of Canada Immigration?
Yes, it's at the CIC, the Canadian Citizenship and Immigration Service website.
As far as like length of time, I know some people, they ask like how long does all this stuff take? And it can take a pretty long time. Besides the people that are fast tracking in because they've got a job offer from an employer, about how long does it take if you go into the skilled worker program?
That depends on what country you're from, and there are some processing issues that vary from, let's say, Asia to North America, etc. But for example, from the United States coming up to Canada, it's about 2 years. And from Europe, it might be around that same period of time. From some other countries, it may be much longer.
Okay. There's Andy Semichuk once again. You can reach him at paceimmigration.com. Drop him an email there, and we'll see you next time. Bye.